Hey there, Chris Brown, part-time hobo. When you think of Nepal, what's the first image that comes to your mind? Probably Mount Everest, 26,000 feet high, the tallest mountain in the world, and one of the things that put Nepal on the map. When I think of Nepal, I think of a yak's head staring me right in the face. I'd been in India, in Varanasi, India, traveling around and seeing sights along the Ganges River, and decided it was time to head over to New Delhi. It was 100 degrees. It was hotter than blazes, India, and packed. India is a very crowded country, over 1 billion people, 1.2 billion people. In fact, I jumped on a bus to head to New Delhi. I'm just sweating and hot. About halfway there, I can hardly take it. And I decide I'm going to head up to Nepal and go see Kathmandu, a place I've always wanted to go. So I jump off the bus in a small village, find another bus full of Hindu pilgrims. They're on their way to Kathmandu, a 2-day ride. So I jump on with this group of retired civil servant pilgrim Hindu pilgrims on their way to Kathmandu, and a 2-day ride. Have to bribe my way out of India, bakshish as they call it, and into Nepal. I get my visa and off we head up across Nepal. I'm expecting right away to be heading into the mountains. Well, half of Nepal is like India. It's a flatland, it's plainsland, it's a very area. I'm like, well, where are these mountains? And suddenly you see in the distance the mountains coming up. And up and up you start to go, and you go up and up and up, and then you see this bus driving frantically along this mountain path, the highway that the British had helped construct 100-some years earlier, and then you go down, 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 and fast. I was hanging on. This had been the ride of my life, going up and down over these mountains into the valley of Kathmandu. Eventually we arrive in Kathmandu. Kathmandu is a city of, well, the city center of Kathmandu is about 1 million people, and the entire valley of the Kathmandu Valley is about 3 million people. Mostly Hindus, a fair amount of Buddhists, and then a few other religious groups and others. It's a very dynamic, mixed, hectic city. Kathmandu is one of the older cities in subcontinent Asia, well over 2,000 years old, and this mix, it was a trade center and all these things. Today, Kathmandu's largest part of the economy is catering to tourists. 3 types of tourists. The pilgrims that come in to visit the many ancient holy sites. That's the bus I rode in on with the Hindu pilgrims. Then you have the mountain climbers that have come to conquer a mountain, Everest, K2, and some of the others that are found in Nepal. That's a large industry there. And then the third are the trekkers. The trekkers, that's what I had come to do. The trekkers are the ones that go out into the mountains and are more looking to not conquer the hills as much as just explore and go from village to village and see the sights and stay with and see local people and follow the long established trekking routes. Initially they go village to village. That's what I was there to do. So I spent a few days in Kathmandu looking at the sights, staying next to a bellowing Swedish man who I believe had gone mad several months earlier. Eventually I find a guide, Arjun, and he says, we will go, and he said, where do you want to go? I said, I don't know this area. He goes, I'll take you up to Hobo. It's a region north of Kathmandu, between Kathmandu and the Tibetan border. Fair enough. Next day, how long do you want to go? A couple of weeks. Okay. The next day Arjun comes, and Arjun's a small guy. He's not a big guy, and he doesn't have much gear. He's got a small day pack and a ski pole and some slip-on rubber boots, that's all. Picks me up. I've got a backpack the size that weighs 80 pounds. I got more stuff than I need at all. And we jump on not a bus, but back end of a truck that takes us to a far village. and off we go on our trek. When we get to the village at the base of the hill we're going to go across, I say to Arjun, can you show me on the map where we're going? He goes, I don't have a map. I just know where we're going. And you're going to have to trust me. Well, sure enough, I need to get out of here in about 2.5 weeks. And he's like, yep, we can do that. I've got family back home I need to take care of, and I'm paying him a ridiculously low amount of money each day to be my guide. Off we go. And we are headed out, and we stay from village to village, and I'm hoofing it up these mountains, having a rough go. We're start at about 10,000 feet, but wind up going around 12 to 13,000 feet. And I'd been living on the equator on the ocean for several years prior to this, so I am not used to this. But we go off and stay with some amazing families, amazing scenery, and hike hut to hut, and pass many of the Sherpas that are also the guides that take people up the mountains, but the Sherpas are a predominant ethnic group in this area. Short in stature, but strong, probably a 20% greater lung capacity. It's where many of the Gurkha soldiers that were recruited by the British Army for the 100 years prior to this in colonial India. The Sherpa are a tough, friendly people, Buddhist, largely Tibetan Buddhist. So we head up from hut to hut, and one night we stay with soldiers on the Tibetan border. We're drunken Nepalese soldiers, and no doubt why they were a pretty tough group. About 8 days in, Arjun and I are hiking along, and he sees some mushrooms that maybe we can cook up that night. So he picks them, looks at them. Yeah, fair enough. He grabs, and we walk a little bit further, and then he sees a hut down a little bit down in maybe 100 meters down the valley. He says they sell beer. They have beer, local Nepalese beer, which is like fermented malto meal. I didn't care for it. I'm getting tired. Altitude's getting to me. Arjun says, I'm going to go down and get a beer. I said, I'll wait here. Meantime, he looks at those mushrooms and says, these are probably no good, probably poisonous, and throws them off to the side. And he takes off to get a beer. I am staying there, looking down this valley across. I see far below a bridge that we're going to have to cross, a rope bridge, and then climb back up. And far away I can see a village, and that's where our goal was to get that night. I'm up, I'm tired. I've been up in these altitudes and hiking, carrying far too much weight. I start to get a little anxious, and my head starts to spin, and I start thinking about home, and I might be trapped in these mountains, and every dark thought that I could ever imagine starts to occur to me. I just start to spin, and I fall back, and I just lay down and just kind of sleep and peacefully. Next thing I know, I'm feeling something. I hear something. I feel my leg getting kicked. I don't know quite where I am. Am I back in Minnesota? Where? I open my eyes, and what's staring me right is a little brown face and a big yak head looking right at me. Am I in a dream? Is this, what is going on here? And I hear and a little more kicking, and man steps back. It was a Sherpa man with a basket on his head. And he's looking at, and in that basket was the head of a small yak. I am just completely discombobulated. He's thinking, possibly, I think, that I'd eaten these mushrooms and died. Luckily then comes Arjun. He can communicate with the man, and it turns out, sure enough, he thought I'd eaten these mushrooms and passed out. And he was on his way to the next village for a celebration, and they had slaughtered a yak for this celebration, and he had it. And others were ahead or behind, I don't know, carrying this. He walked away, that yak head perched up in his basket over him, muttering something, probably to the something like stupid tourist. I don't know. I got my wits about me. We had a little bit of a laugh over the moment. I realized, yes, I would get out of here. Arjun was a great guide. And we hiked down that valley, crossed over that bridge, up to the other side, and wound up actually staying in somewhat like a stable that night. And a few days later, just on time, Arjun, we emerged in a small village, got us on a bus, and we were back in Kathmandu before I knew it. It's an awesome, awesome hike. Arjun was a great guide. When we got done, I met his family. And his grandmother had her own little, her mother or grandmother business. She knit yak wool sweaters. Well, thank you, Arjun Darrell, for your mom and your grandmother's handicraft. I still have and love my yak wool yin yang sweater that I wear throughout today's winters. Anyway, that's my tale of the yak head in Nepal. Hope you all doing well. Safe travels. Until next time, I'm Chris Brown, part-time hobo. Cheers.